I sold 16 luxury items in quarter 2 of 2026. So if you'd like to know what I sold, why I sold it, and where I sold it, please keep on watching. And hi, if you're new here, my name is Elaine, and on my channel, I like to talk about bags from mid-range to vintage luxury. And as you saw on the title, thumbnail, and intro, today I'm going to be talking about all the luxury items that I sold in April to June of this year. In quarter 1, I sold 18 items, and I also did a video talking about that. So if you like to check that out, that's right here. But I decided it's actually nice to kind of go through all the things that I sold quarter by quarter, because I do sell a lot of items. I am, if you've seen some of my other videos in the past, I am a buy and sell type of collector. So I'm quick to buy, but I'm also quick to sell. And most of the time, because I'm buying secondhand or vintage, I break even. But I do try not to go overboard. I also try not to buy too many new items. But anyways, this quarter, I'm actually saying luxury items. So I did sell like a couple of SLGs and one piece of jewelry. So last quarter, I sold 18 bags, and they were just bags. This quarter, it's kind of a mix of things, but 16 things total. And so I'm going to start breaking down by where I sold it. So the first item that I sold was a Plume 20 that I did I unbox it? Maybe I did. And I actually sold it to a friend because she really wanted it, and I did sell it for quite a bit of a loss because I realized it was painted and I didn't want to rip her off. But in the end, you know, even though I took a loss, it's for a friend, so it lessens the blow for sure. The next category are items sold on my Instagram account, Fairly Curated Closet. So I'll link it down below, but I also put it up here. So those are items that most of the time I got them for a good deal at brand deal, so I'll sell them and just break even because, you know, it's a small account. I'm not looking to make money. So things listed there are usually not so expensive, or sometimes it's things that I bought brand new that I know are still in good condition, and I want to pass it on to someone who's subscribing or following along, and so sort of like selling to a friend, right? So the first thing I sold was a Longchamp Nubuck sort of hobo bag. It was vintage. The Nubuck was actually very beautiful, but the hardware was a little bit, I guess, tarnished. So I did sell it for a little bit of a loss. Like if you count in shipping and stuff, yeah, it's a little bit of a loss, but I mean, pretty much even. The next thing I sold was the Jacqueline Soul red long-shouldered bag. I got that because I was doing my whole deep dive into brands that use tannery, Remy Carriot. That's how I found Michino. That's how I found Wuhe Leathers. A good brand, I think. So my biggest issue is that when I first unboxed it, it was very perfumey, and I did have it sort of airing out in another room, so that by the time I sold it, I wouldn't say it was perfumey, but if you brought it up close, you definitely could still smell the perfume, and that sort of led me not to want to use it as much, so I didn't really use it. I also do have a lot of bags in that style, which is sort of a long shoulder, like a rectangular or squarish shape. I sold it for about a 50% loss. It was somewhat reasonable to begin with. I think I got it for like $560. I think in the end I sold it for like $250 something, or maybe $300, but like, you know, almost 50% loss. But because it's not a big brand name, I didn't feel like I could sell it for what I paid for, even though it was in great condition. But you know, I'm pretty sure it's in a happy place now. It's being used, so I'm happy about that. The next thing I sold was my Row Park Tote, and I did do a whole video on why I'm selling it. So I don't know, hopefully it will be up before this video airs. I'm sort of all over the place right now. Sold it for a loss, of course, because I bought it brand new, and so I can't sell it. In good conscience, I can't sell it for the same price that I bought it for, especially since I did use it quite a bit, but I also stored it in such a way and took care of it, conditioned it, cleaned it, so like it looks really good. Honestly, it looks almost as good as the day that I got it, except for a little softening of the corners. So I sold it for, you know, of course, a loss. I think maybe in the end it was like a $300 loss, maybe $400. So now that I'm trying this new thing where, like, in my closet tracking app, before I delete the item, I will put in the total price of what I've actually paid for it. So, you know, what I paid for minus what I sold it for. It's sort of like the cost of using it. So of course, if the cost of using it was like $400 and then I used it for like 80 times, like in general, the cost per wear when I do it that way, it shows that that bag had one of my best cost per wears. And I have to say, because the Real does make good bags, even though I used it a ton, it looked really good. I also did take good care of it though. Took a loss, but in general, I would not call it a loss. The next thing that I sold was a Berlin Go PM. This one actually didn't go through the IG account. Someone contacted me through the IG account and asked if I was thinking about selling it, which I already was. I think I might have probably mentioned it in one of my other videos. And so instead of listing it on the IG account, I just sent her pictures. She liked it. She was okay with the price. And so I sold it. It was pretty much even. A little bit of a loss again with shipping, but not a big deal. Next thing that I sold was the Celine Soft Cube bag. So for those who've been following my blog for a while, this was a shocker for some of you guys because this was like my #1 most used bag. I wouldn't say of all time because now the puzzle has taken that spot, but for a very long time, it was my #1 most used bag. Really love that bag. I mean, I still do. I took really good care of it, conditioned it yearly. Had a little bit of corner wear, but other than that, it looked really good. I took very good care of it. But in the end, I sold it because I stopped using that bag. And the #1 reason was because of the straps. So both the shoulder strap and the handle straps are all very skinny straps. And so then when I put my stuff inside, it was just really heavy on my shoulder and it wasn't as comfortable to grip. And I just felt like I have so many other bags that are more comfortable to use. So even though this one had a lot of memories and was sort of one of the main bags on my blog, I just thought, it's time to let it go. I really wasn't using it. I actually did do a video of all the bags, my least used bags of 2026 so far. That was on it. And that's sort of when I started thinking about, well, do I really want to keep it? Am I going to use it? And the answer was no. So I did take a loss on it, of course, because I bought it, a while ago, but I did buy it from Fashionphile, but I did buy it for a pretty high price because it was right around when Phoebe Philo was leaving. Celine, Phoebe Philo's Celine was still really hot. And so I didn't buy it for that much cheaper than retail. So of course, I sold it for less because I've had it for a while. But, again, going back to my Real Park tote, did use these bags a ton. I did take good care of it. And then so in the end, my cost per wear, especially for that one, because I had used it, I think 100 times. I think I did do a blog post about using it 100 times. And it still looks great. And so when it comes down to cost per wear, I think the Celine Soft Cube was actually the best cost per wear bag in the history of my bag collection. The only bag that could ever top that would be the small puzzle. If I ever decide to sell it, then that sell price and that difference, and then we'll see. But I don't plan to sell it, so. And then the last thing I sold on my Instagram account was a Prada nylon bag that I don't think I ever featured on here. I did buy it from Brandier. I was gonna do a Prada nylon versus Longchamp nylon versus basically a whole nylon bag roundup, comparing the nylons. And then, so I did buy it for that, but then I ended up buying a different Prada nylon bag, which I'm going to use if I ever do this video. So I was like, I don't really use this one. The thing I liked about this Prada one was that it was very discreet. So it was kind of chic. It very much had that vintage vibe. I did sell it for a pretty good price. So again, took a little bit of a loss because of shipping, but not a big deal. The next category are bags and SLGs that I sold on the RealReal. So again, I do sell a lot of my things on the RealReal because it's easy. I wouldn't recommend selling clothes on there, but bags and jewelry tend to do well. You do tend to get a pretty good price. And because I have been selling for quite a while and I have reached a threshold, I'm in like their, VIP category. So I do get the most percentage back. This next item, so this is actually item number, I don't know, I lost count, 8, yeah, is the Plume 28. So this did show up in my Hermes Plume review. So it had 32, 28, and 28 elan. So the 28 was white with red piping. I actually shipped it off to the RealReal, I think end of last year sometime, and it finally just sold this quarter. So obviously it's a white with red bag. It's very much a spring summer type of bag, so no one's going to really be buying it in the winter. And of course it's been discounted quite a bit, but I still gained a little bit off of it because I did buy a secondhand from Brandier before tariffs. Actually, that's probably why it's not a loss. Before tariffs, And so when I sold it on the RealReal, I still made a little bit of money, even with all the discounts. Why did I sell that bag? I don't know. The 20 I didn't love because it doesn't quite go over your shoulder. The shoulder straps doesn't quite fit over. So it's just, for me, it was mostly a top handle hand carry type of bag, which is really annoying for me. And also pure white, I don't know, just doesn't really work for my wardrobe. I tend to favor sort of like cool toned gray whites, or even I even have some like warm toned whites, but like a stark white, I don't know, it was, especially with the red piping, was a little bit hard for me to match. The next bag that I sold was the Fendi belt bag, which showed up in my bags that annoy me tag. So that one was super tiny. So that I totally did not do the measurements, and so I didn't realize it was going to be so small. So it basically just fits like your phone, maybe a wallet and a lippy. So not my kind of bag. I'm not TBE. Also, it came with like this huge, came with a couple of straps, but one of the straps, main strap, was this belt bag, which was a little too much. Very cute bag. I sold it for a big loss. I purchased it post tariffs, so paid a ton of tariffs on it. I think it was like, it's like a 70% loss, which is huge. I also sold my Bottega Veneta parachute bag in the cobalt blue color. That one was a little too big and too blue. Like it was just sort of in your face kind of thing. So I never really wore it. It was kind of hard for me to style. So I did sell that pretty soon after I got it. I did take a loss on that as well. Next was the Cartier suede bag. So that showed up in my Battle of the Bucket Bags post. And I didn't like that one because the strap was made out of snakeskin, and then having that over my shoulder, it just kept slipping off. It was heavy, it was big. The suede was gorgeous though. Hardware was beautiful, but it just wasn't for me. I bought that off of the RealReal, sold it back onto the RealReal, and of course took a loss. The next bag that I sold on the RealReal was the Hermes Slim Arsan. So I bought that in boutique. I did do a whole slim versus petite Arsan post here. And I bought that because I really wanted the petite Arsan. I asked for the petite Arsan and I got the slim Arsan. That was sort of like year 2 in my Hermes journey, and I worked with my sales associate and like was hoping to get something. So I should have said no. That's the point of it. I should have said no, but I didn't. I bought it and then realized how not useful it was, and so then I sold it onto the RealReal. Instead, purchased the petite Arsan, actually 2 petite Arsans off of Fashionphile, which is what I should have done in the first place. Suffice it to say, I am no longer buying bags at retail from the San Francisco boutique. Sold this at a big loss, but I have to say, I originally did get a quote from Fashionphile. So the bag in total was over $6,000 with tax and everything. Fashionphile was going to give me $3,000 off the bat, and I was like, wow, 50%. All right. I'd rather take my chances with the RealReal. So I sent it to the RealReal, and it sat for, I'll put it here. It tells you how long it's been sitting on the market, but it was like hundreds and hundreds of days, right? So it's been sitting there, and then it gets discounted periodically. And in the end, I sold it, of course, for a loss, but compared to what Fashionphile was going to give me, I still made more selling it off the RealReal. This is why I favor the RealReal over Fashionphile. But that's not to say I won't sell to Fashionphile. So that's coming up in a little bit. But yes, overall, did take a loss. Lesson learned, I am not buying retail from boutique currently. Next that I sold on the RealReal was a coin purse. So I did do a Hermes SLG view about all the SLGs that I have. And then right after that, I decided, you know what? I have too much, like I need to get rid of some. So sent them off to the RealReal. They sold actually fairly quick. So the first one is the orange Van Cattle coin purse. I think I bought that off the RealReal, sold it back to the RealReal. Of course, took a loss, but not terrible, because actually the loss was a little bit tempered because I had purchased that with credit. So the price actually was lower than listed when I bought it. And then when I sold it, I pretty much sold it for the same price. So I pretty much broke even, a little bit of a loss, but again, the RealReal credit helped on that one. And then the last thing I sold on the RealReal for Q2 was my Hermes Ruby wallet. It was the Azap compact wallet. So I did have 2 of those when I talked about it in my SLG review. and one red, one green. And the red one is an older style, and it had a silk pull tab that was starting to fall off. So then I bought the green one. I did take a loss on that wallet, but I also used it quite a bit. So in the end, I think it was worth it. Yes, I took a little bit of a loss, but it wasn't terrible because I bought it secondhand. So the last category is Fashionphile. I don't normally sell things to Fashionphile. I have in the past. I sold my Hermes Plume 32 on Fashionphile. So originally I did send it to the RealReal, and then they really lowballed me, and I was like, oh, that doesn't seem right. So I took it back. Then I had it for a little bit and thought about it. And then, I got my Moschino Paris MM bag, which is basically the exact same bag. I did try selling it on IG. There was no takers. So then I decided to send in a quote. And Fashionphile actually offered me a little bit more. So I got about $700 more by selling it through Fashionphile over the RealReal. And then I also did sell my Justin Clou Cartier ring, which I already knew was a mistake as soon as I bought it. I think I did do a review here. Otherwise, I did do a review on the blog. I didn't love it. I don't like how it digs into your finger. I definitely got suckered into the hype. And so I originally, again, did try to sell it on the RealReal. They lowballed me. So I decided to take it back. And then I was using it for a little bit. But in the end, I was like, I'm not really using it. So decided to put in a quote through Fashionphile. I think originally when Fashionphile quoted me, it was going to be, I would make a little bit more than if I had sold it on the RealReal. So I was like, yeah, great. I might as well just sell it. And then once I got it, they readjusted their quote, and I had it, I'm pretty sure because I had it listed in I have like a whole spreadsheet so I can keep track of like gains, losses, and such, and where I sold it. I had a number on my spreadsheet, and then they adjusted it. But there's no notice. They don't tell you, I don't think. I didn't get an email like, hey, it's actually this. They like literally just said, this is your payout. And it was less than what they had originally quoted me, which feels a little shady. I don't know if I'm missing an email or something, or if that's just how it is, but I'm pretty sure they adjusted the price, once I sent it in. So I don't know. So in the end, I think I pretty much was about even with what the RealReal was going to give me. But at that point, I'm just like, whatever, right? So maybe that's what they're counting on. But since then, I have put in a couple other quotes to Fashionphile, and they've all been very low. So I do not think I will be selling to them anytime soon. It was kind of a nice run. But yes, those are the 16 things that I sold in Q2. I plan to probably do this for the rest of the year just to see how it is. I do sell a lot, but it's also sort of my hobby. Like, I very much enjoy buying things, cleaning them up, using them, reviewing them, and then if it doesn't work out, selling them, And again, like I said, because most of the time I am buying secondhand, the losses and the gains sort of just even out. I'm basically even most of the time. And so if I'm even and I get to do a hobby that I like, it makes sense to me. Anyways, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this interesting, I kindly ask that you give it a like, or if you've watched some other videos in the past, I ask that you subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.